we're not doing anything standard. We're not hiring to build something on spec. We're hired to build something truly custom and bespoke. That is who we are, and that's what our clients expect from us. And as demanding as that might be, that's the realm that we chose to be in. What's up, guys? Episode 29 of the Coffee Break series. If you guys have questions, make sure you leave them in the comments below. As you can see, I have Ken on this episode. I figured it would be cool to get a two-person perspective on this question and maybe more questions going forward. So let us know what you guys think about the duo, the pair, the couple. No, not the couple. Let's roll with it. But if you guys have questions, make sure you drop it in the comments below. And as always, subscribe and turn on notifications. And a little tidbit, we have a premiere. This is a new project that we're sharing on YouTube, which will be launching tomorrow night. So make sure you check it out on YouTube. We'll add the link below at 8 p.m. I'm looking at Doug, the man behind the camera. So as your company grows with more vans, tools, and employees, I'm wondering how big is too big? And is there a point where you feel like attention to detail that you pride yourselves in is impossible to scale? Now, before I answer this question, before we talk about it, on this week's episode of the Modern Craftsman podcast, which launched today, we talk with Lauren Wood, and we talk about scaling. And he started a company with, I don't know if you've listened to it, but he started a company with his wife. Now they're a team of 50 to 55 people. And we talk very much about this. It's probably a 3-hour conversation. But if you guys haven't listened to it, it's worth it. It gets a different perspective than I think we'll talk about because everyone has different perspectives on this. But let me start. I don't think that necessarily it's a size thing. I think, a speed thing for sure. I think speed has a lot to do with it. And, we've certainly failed in a lot of scenarios, and we've certainly succeeded in some. And, typically what it comes down to is having some sort of process in place. And when we hire people and having a set of expectations or whatever the case may be, or simply just, I think we've hired people where it's like, great kid, great person, but maybe they just, not cut out for this.
Not the right fit.
Yeah, and, and even more so, and I think Tyler talks about this a lot, is that, they get this false sense of what we do through the eyes of Instagram. And I talk about this on the podcast. It's like, I don't think we're necessarily purposely filtering what we're doing, but there is a level of filter. You're getting to see the cool stuff. You're not understanding the 3,000 man hours that went into it. Right. That went, maybe 1,000 of them sucked. But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I wasn't gonna say anything.
But it is. I think scaling. It's not. It's about speed, but more so, I think it comes down to agility, where it's like you have to realize that there's going to be wins and losses, and you have to be, nimble enough to kind of maneuver around that. But what he's really getting at is the attention to detail, and I think this is where I think we set ourselves apart. We are really unique in this, in the sense that we do, even though some of us have a harder time getting on board with it, the rip it out mentality is very much what we're about.
For sure.
And it's something that, from a business structure financially, it hurts. And the more people you have to think about compound. I don't know why I just looked at you, Doug. Sorry. Total noob camera move there, guys. But it's this, like, you're compounding it, right? You have 20 guys, and then you're ripping out 20 people's worth of work. It becomes really financially draining, and I think that's where you have to be agile and nimble. So Ken, like, what are your thoughts on, as far as as we grow? Like, you came in, you were I don't remember what number, three,
yeah.
And you've been here for a little over 3 years,
right?
And it's like, at this point, you've seen us scale. You've come in, into an empty, basically pipe dream of mine, which I think, I can probably comfortably say that has become, somewhat of your dream too, in the sense that now we continue to scale, and we talk about scaling, and we talk about growing and adding to the team. What are your fears? And this is like, I don't think I've ever asked him this, so this is great.
Fears. Wow. I think that finding the right people and making sure that the people that are coming in do have that skill, so we're not having to rip it out and continuing to kind of go down that path of costing time and money. But more so, I think as long as we have the projects that can support the extra manpower, then I don't think there's a cap on.
How do we check that? Like, how do we test someone as far as like, okay, we're not gonna have to rip their work out?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I mean, that's a struggle that I know you and I talk about a lot when bringing on new people. I've had this conversation with other people as well who struggle with it. And you know, we kind of toss out, do we have some kind of test? Is it a written exam? Is it more of a physical exam? Because let's be honest, anybody can say, oh, I can build that. Yeah, here's a photo of what I've done. But maybe they were just part of a team that did that, right? Like they were a 30-person team. They built this huge kitchen. But what did they actually do as part of that team? Yeah. So it's difficult. I really don't have the answer to that.
But that goes back to being, nimble with it, right? Where it's, for me, I hire a lot based on personality, where it's like, I'm not putting people through tests. I'm trying to get a good read on, are they being truthful to me? Are they wanting to join for a good reason? Like, do they have the right personality? I made some poor judgment calls on that in the past. And I just want to, let me clear the air here, is that everyone that's ever been part of this company has been great. There's never been really any bad apples. It's just not the right, like maybe not the right fit for them here or for us. It wasn't the right fit. But beyond that, it's, I try to, my decision making is based on kind of who they are as a person. And then it's, up to us for, kind of the probation period or the first 30 days, or, hey, we'll sit down after a couple weeks and figure out how things are going. That's really tough because I don't, people could be taking a chance on us to join a team thinking that they're going to come here and learn and maybe sell themselves, to a higher level than they might be. And after 30 days, it's not the right fit. They just left another job for us.
Right.
And that's really tough, but it is like this. We have to flip the script and understand that it's business, and that's where the truthfulness really comes at a high price. It's we have to understand that this is you're coming to us and being truthful and honest with where you're at, and and we can hopefully have a position, and that goes through like someone that doesn't have any experience all the way to having experience. But to speak specifically to what about bringing people in that all right, they go through your test, you come up with a test, now you have 2 guys under you, now we scale, and all of a sudden you have 4 guys. What are you doing to make sure that your quality is upheld?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of checks and balances, right? Where I'm going to then have to rely on you, the project managers, even the cabinet makers under me would be kind of holding me accountable as well, making sure that I'm doing my job, I'm getting things to them on time, that I'm not holding them up, and that we are meeting those standards.
What do you think our biggest pitfalls have been in the sense of, let's just talk about rework. Rework's been a huge topic as we come to an end of this year. We had, I'll be a little transparent, well over $100,000 worth of rework of work that we completed and then decided to rip it out. That's a big number. I'm sitting here, got a little chills when I said that. It's a big number, and that's work that we couldn't bill for. And, and we sit down and we have to talk and have a real conversation about it and what that could potentially do. So what, leading up to the, having that conversation, what do you think were some of the things that we were struggling with internally?
I think planning, having a better grasp from the start going into it. And I know there's a lot of stuff that I could have changed. I could have done better in reflecting on the last year. I'm sure that everybody else feels the same way. And I think just communicating with our teams clearer about what we're looking for and what is to be expected, I guess, at the end of the project. And we're not doing anything that's standard, right? So when I'm going through and I'm looking at a project, I'm seeing it from my perspective. And then when I pass it on to the team, maybe they're looking at it from another perspective. So to kind of sit down with them, review everything before we even start fabrication so that there's no kind of question of, how did Ken want this done? I think I'm just going to do it this way because this is what I see. And then that leads into, well, there was a reason I wanted it done this way, and now we're having to go back and change it.
It is. It's about setting and maintaining expectation, but being clear in the message and not making assumptions. That's been a big thing where we talked about making assumptions or assuming that even a $1 billion appliance company giving us the right specifications for something. It's really trying to take the guesswork out of it, even from that level, and understanding that that's what it's going to take. You hit on a great point. We're not doing anything standard. We're not hiring to build something on spec. We're hired to build something truly custom and bespoke. It's that is who we are, and that's what our clients expect from us. And and as demanding as that might be, that's the realm that we chose to be in. And setting those expectations and working together, I think that's what allows us to scale, right? Is if we can correct the issues internally with who we have today, we create systems and processes. And I know that is driven into our heads is like, oh, you just got to systemize that or create a process for it or put it as a SOP and make a book and everyone will follow the rules. And we can say that until we're blue in the face, and then you have people like my good friend John who says it takes the creativity out of it. But the fact of the matter is we're not taking the creativity out of it. We're trying to take the guesswork out of the things that matter to us. And maybe that process tells us, hey, don't go by the spec, actually order the oven and have it on site. Or this is how we do that, but this is open to discussion. Like if you have a better way, where you're constantly trying to help the creativity along, where I think creativity is oftentimes burdened by the fact that we're trying to follow the directions. You're going step by step, where you still need to leave that room for creativity.
Sure.
I'm reading the question again. More vans, more tools, and employees. The vans and tools, I think, all of that just comes kind of with the territory. It's a necessity. We talk internally where it's, if a tool makes sense, we get the tool.
Right.
We're never going to impact a project, especially from a quality or even more of a creativity standpoint. We're going to make sure that we get that as soon as possible. But as you scale people, it's really about setting expectation. Any closing words on, as we continue to scale? Even for me, it's like as we start bringing in more people, what I should be looking for or what we should be looking for.
Yeah, I mean, we really gotta dig in, right? There's a saying: slow to hire, quick to fire.
Yeah,
I think we have to take more time with the people that we are bringing in, making sure that they are the right fits for these jobs. And then beyond bringing on new employees, it's the same two things I just said: communication and prior planning. Yeah,
for sure. So guys, I urge you definitely check out the episode this week of the Modern Craftsman Podcast. We go 3+ hours talking about scaling. It's an absolute great episode. And we're going to be rolling into our 30th episode next week. So make sure you drop us a good question below. We'll get to that next week. And what did I say? It was tomorrow, Doug, we're releasing. Tomorrow, 8 p.m., we're releasing the Jewel Box, a new project that we wrapped up a little over a year ago. Probably a lot more than a year ago. Either way, check it out.
Just about, yeah.
We'll see you guys.
Just about a year.
Just about? See you next week.